let's talk about risk. There's risk associated with anything you do, right? There's a risk to going outside. There's a risk to going to work. There's risk to getting into a car. And there's a risk to not going outside. There's a risk to not going to work. There's risk to not getting or driving in a car, right? So you get this idea that there's pros and cons to every decision you make. And when you do anything in business or with money, there's going to be pros and cons. If you save money, you're going to have more money that you can spend later. However, there's a risk. There's a risk to money deflate or inflating and the value going down. There's a risk to spending money. When you spend money, you don't have that money to buy stuff later, but you have the stuff, which could be a big deal, right? Because money's not that helpful if there's a snowstorm and you need a generator, but having a generator when there's a snowstorm and you need a generator is really nice. So there's risks. And now you can explain to your significant other, see, there's a risk to me not buying this booster box because then I wouldn't have gotten the good hit if I didn't buy the booster box. See, you got to think like an economist. There's two sides to everything. One of the presidents said that the only economist he likes is one that only has one hand because economists will always say, on the other hand. Yeah, anyway, stupid joke. All right. What do? You want to make money with magic cards, and there's lots of ways that you can do that. You can buy and sell singles. You can invest in sealed product. You can invest in singles. You can flip collections. And I want to just talk through the pros and cons and risk associated with each of these. Let's talk about singles. Speculating on singles. Speculating on singles is understood generally to be a fool's game. And let me talk about why it's not a fool's game. And then we'll get into some examples and the details of why it would be a fool's game. Speculating on singles is essentially choosing a trading card, a magic card that you believe is underpriced. And then you spend money to buy a bunch of copies of that card with the expectation they'll go up in price in the future. This does not always happen. You know, with sealed product, generally speaking, sealed product, given enough time, will always increase in value. But that is not true about cards, as we'll get into the examples. But I'm supposed to talk about the positive first. The positive is asymmetric risk. So when you buy, and this is true for sealed product or collections or things like that too, but when you buy a $10 card, there is a risk that it will go down to 50 cents. But for most cards, like a card like Heroic Intervention, do we really think that it's going to go down to 50 cents? And you might say like, yeah, there is. Well, that's not zero. And what's the upside? Well, maybe Heroic Intervention is not a great example, but let's talk about Jeweled Lotus, just because that's like a easy example for the evil scalper investor people out there. So Jeweled Lotus, right now its market price, I'll share my screen, is like $70, something like that. Yeah. Of course, nobody's buying any because, it's banned. You can't play it anywhere. But so it has a market price of $70. Well, if you buy a bunch of these today for $60, $70, will it go to zero? Well, probably not. In fact, there's lots of people I've seen in Facebook groups or on the internet that say they'll buy as many of these as possible for $20 each. So the worst case scenario is it loses 3/4 of its value. Well, what's the upside? Well, let's say that if it gets unbanned, it goes to $150. It doubles in price. So the worst case scenario is losing 4/5, and the other scenario is doubling. And that is, you could compare having to double. So the amount of money you could lose $40. Or you can gain $60. Asymmetric. Now, of course, depending on what the odds are, what are the odds Jeweled Lotus gets unbanned? You could say 0. Well, if the odds are 0, then really the expected value is you're going to lose $40, period, right? or something like that. So it gets tricky. But the point is that, let's talk about a card that's only $1. Let's say that you think this $1 card is going to be a $10 card someday. Well, what are the odds the $1 card goes to zero? 0. All magic cards are worth something. So let's say it goes down to a quarter, 25 cents. It loses 3/4 of its value. But on the other hand, the upside is it can 10x. And that's what I'm talking about by asymmetric risk, is that the risk of the thing you want happening, the upside could be a lot higher than the potential downside, since the downside is capped by It won't go to zero just because it's a Magic product and it has inherent value in it. We really see this with sealed product, right? What's the risk of buying Spider-Man collector booster boxes for, whatever, or $300? Well, is it going to go much lower than $300? Probably not. Probably not. So the risk is you're going to lose that 15% if you sell on TCG Player, shipping and fees and that kind of thing. And then what's the upside? Well, in 2 years, it could be a $600 box and it doubles. And of course, that's tying up money for 2 years. But you get the point. Asymmetric risk, that is the point in favor of speculating in general on cards, but speculating on singles. The point against it is how historically this just doesn't play out well for people. And I encourage you to try. I encourage you, and you don't even have to try with real money. I encourage you to choose a card today that you think is going to go up in value in the next year and write it down. Set a reminder on your phone for a year, put a calendar event a year from now, like check the price of ABC. And you can see if you can do this. Because I've checked myself with real money and I can't do this, but it's fun. It's fun to try. Anyway, Fatal Push. Fatal Push was a card that was dominating Standard and Modern in the late 2010s. Speculator bought a ton of these with the expectation that the price would go up. At some point, this was like $5 plus uncommon. What happened? Well, it got reprinted and then it fell out of favor inside of both Standard and Modern, or it rotated out, something like that. Anyways, it's now a 30-cent card, but at some point in time, somebody was like, this is a clear, easy bet. I'm going to buy hundreds of copies of Fatal Push and this is going to go up and make me money. And the problem is, there is no clear, easy bet. I mean, some things get close. There's some secret layers that come out where it's like, that seems like a winner. But even then, sometimes they print a ton of them, so they don't sell out quickly, and they're not. There's risk. There's risk associated. And the person who bought tons of these for $2 each, well, if they're still holding, they're down, right? Jeweled Lotus is a great example. A lot of these people thought, it's like, how many sold? 1, 6, 10, 20, I don't know, 30. 30 Jeweled Lotuses worth of people, which isn't actually that many. But, they are confident. They're like, these things are going to be unbanned. These are going to be valuable. This is worth my money. And then what do you know? It's not unbanned. It is still banned. The liquidity is zero because nobody's buying these things. So I wonder if they're sold on eBay. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video and the point I'm making is that there is serious risk involved with any single Magic card to say, hey, I believe this is going to go up in value. There is potential for asymmetric reward, which is what encourages people. It's like the guy who bought a ton of Fatal Pushes for $2 and thought they'd go to 10 or more. If they did, that would have been really cool, right? I mean, there's still a liquidity problem. So if you own 100 copies of Fatal Push, it goes from $2 to $10. How are you going to sell 100 copies? I mean, you could sell, you just better hope that there's a ton selling each day. It's like right now on a good day, there's like 4 or 7 selling. And it'd probably be less if it was a $10 card. So, it'd be hard. It'd take some time. Even if you were the only seller, it'd take some time to get through all of your 100 copies or whatever. So a lot to think about. Very interesting. Well, let's talk about sealed product. There's risk to holding sealed product. There's risk to not holding sealed product. Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about Return to Ravnica booster boxes that just in the past year have gone up from around 130-ish up to 150, 60-ish. These came out in 2012. It's been 14 years. So, and the reason I bring this up is to point out that when people are like, oh, sealed product, it goes up over time. Yeah, in Pokemon, some Magic products just don't. They just go flat. And there's good reason for this, and I've referenced this before, and I still need to make this video. But Wizards of the Coast is trying to set up Magic in such a way where the hype of what is new will completely surpass the desire to buy what is old, right? That is how they make money, is from the new stuff. And so they're incentivized. I'm not saying that's what they did with Return to Ravnica, although kind of, right? I mean, what was valuable about Return to Ravnica? Probably the Shocklands. What do you know? Oh, and Cyclonic Rift, right? And what do you know? They're still printing those. Anyways, Final Fantasy. Let's talk about Final Fantasy Collector boosters, which are now selling for $1,000. There's risk associated with buying Final Fantasy Collector, although asymmetric risk. I bought a couple of these when they were $600. I thought this seems like a good deal. Honestly, I feel this way about the Marvel superhero set that's going to come out this year. I'm going to go to as many stores as I can. I think and I'll just share all my secrets, but you have to, I don't know how you get in. I got in because I bought Murders of Karlov Manor booster box from MVP Sports and More, and they were like, hey, you should check out our website, and you have to have a login for their website. So I don't know, maybe try to buy a booster box from them and see if you can get a login to their website. But I'm going to look at MVP. I'm signed up for Patreons. I'm going to look at Stomping Ground. I'm going to look at, Game Grid, Lehigh in Utah. I have siblings that live there, and they could pick it up for me if I'm able to pre-order online because they only let you locally pick up. Anyways, I'm going to try to get as many of the superhero. I'm going to start saving money. I need to start saving money now so that I can buy as many of the Marvel superheroes collector booster boxes as possible that, within a risk tolerance that I do have. It's not just like swipe credit cards. Because I think it's going to be like Final Fantasy, where Final Fantasy at the time I was thinking, this just feels like there's the fan base and the hype and the concentration of value such that these things will be very pricey. And so I bought, a few of them, and bought them for $600. Boom, they shot up to $1,400. But look, they're back down to $1,000, and the liquidity is good. I mean, there's quite a few every day. Isn't it crazy? Every day, thousands upon thousands of dollars are being spent on these. And so the liquidity's there, but it's holding at 1,000. It has held at 1,000, but who's to say? I mean, it has been trending down, it's like it was like 170 a month ago, $1,070, and now it's like there's one for $1,000. There's one for $1,030. And so there's a risk, right? A lot of people, I listen to Kitchen Table Cards and Games a lot, Louis with Kitchen Table TCG, and he was talking about last year how he was certain that by Christmas of 2025, Final Fantasy collector booster boxes would be $2,000. I felt that way too. I didn't have my mortgage writing on it, but I did feel that way. I was like, that's probably going to happen. And in my mind, by the way, I have a couple of these. I'm going to wait until they're $2,000 or until I need the money, whichever one comes first. But, it could go to a $10,000 box. I don't know. But once it hits $2,000, I'm done. I'm just going to cash out. Maybe I'll keep one. I don't know. Anyway, right. A lot of people thought this would be a lot more pricey than it is today. There's just risk. There's risk with holding these products. But let's talk about what's less risky. A Bloomborough set of 4 commander decks from Flipside Gaming website, not sponsored. Flipside Gaming, where you can buy... How many can you buy at once? Can I buy 11? Maybe. All right. So what's the deal? I've got a spreadsheet. Let me pull it up. So web scraped. Somebody asked about this code. I want to share this code. I feel like on one hand, this code that I've made is special, but then on the other hand, anybody could remake it using Claude in like half an hour. So I should probably just share it. Comment below if you want me to share this code, or if you'd even know what to do with Python. Because maybe I just put on my GitHub repo and then just share it that way. I don't know. Anyways, so I got this code. WebScrapes TCG Player gets the market price of the cards, and then I filter for the cards. Oh, whoa. Is this wrong? Yeah, this is probably too high for Elspeth. Sometimes the cards, sometimes it's like rounding up and things like that. But anyways, not perfect code, but all the cards over 45 cents. And you add that up, and before shipping and fees, we have $174. After shipping and fees, we have $139. But look, there's a collector sample pack in each one of those 4 decks. So there's 4 of these $8 collector sample packs, $32 of value there. If you're buying it for $120 from Flipside Gaming, you net $51. That is pretty cool. Now there's risk here. Are you going to sell all these cards overnight? No, it takes time. In fact, it'll go faster if you have more cards. The more cards you have, the faster and easier it is to sell the cards you do have. So if you're just starting off your TCG inventory, this is a great place to start, but it might take some time for these to sell. I don't know if you're going to make net your money in the first week or two, or even the first month, right? You could, especially if you price at like TCG low, you'll sell pretty quickly. And I could run this. My code can run for TCG low as well. Anyways, but this is looking at market price and netting $51. There's still risk here. There's still risk. If you need this money today, I don't know if I'd recommend this. But that being said, what is the risk of this compared to a Final Fantasy collector box? You're basically not guaranteed, but you're probably going to make money opening Bloomborough collector decks. Are you going to make money holding on to Final Fantasy collector boxes from $1,000 this year? I don't know. It could stay flat for a year. It totally could. But this is pretty cool. What else? What else is lower risk? Boom, buying collections, baby. I just got back from picking this collection up, and this is just cool stuff. There has to be part of you that is willing. Oh, holy crap. Oh my gosh. Old Border foil Avacyn from Innistrad remastered. Oh, I like that. Crap. I was about to say that you have to like hate Magic cards at least a little bit to be able to sell them all, to do this collection buying thing, because wow, do I just want to keep all these. But anyways, $2,000 collection. I bought it at 70%, and there's risk. There's risk. Cards can go up, they can go down. Obviously going up wouldn't be a problem, but them going down would be a problem. There's work, there's time that it takes to get these ready. And it's very nice this person put them in top loaders, because that is just a nice, considerate thing to do. A good way to protect cards. Oh, is that a foil Terror of the Peaks? Oh, it is. A foil Terror of the Peaks from M21. Ah, beautiful. But I need to take these out. I need to scan them. It takes a bunch of work and energy and effort. And then to hopefully make some good money. You know, it's like with this collection, hopefully I'm able to net 10% for myself. So with all the work and effort, I can take home in my pocket, hopefully $200. We'll see though. We'll see. Because it doesn't always work out that way. And that's the thing, is that you have to have this kind of priced in, and you have to have a tolerance for it. I mean, I've got a buddy of mine. We bought into a secret lair that we were like, this is going to make us money. We're going to do it. And it did. It made us all money, but it stressed this guy out. And that's okay. You know, it's like, this isn't for everybody. There's risk associated with trying to make money from trading cards. And I've talked about some of the risks here today. I haven't gone into, and I'll have to save it for another video, things like credit cards and carrying balances and interest, loans. But that just compounds the risk. If you're working with money that you can afford to lose, then you can be so much more risky, right? You can speculate on singles or sealed product or whatever, because if it does go down, it's not the end of the world. But wow, if you need money, stay away from the riskier stuff. Stay away from speculating on singles or sealed product. And do the stuff that's less risky. Do the stuff, buy the collections to flip. The commander deck sets that are good for flipping. These things. And even then, like if you need the money today, that's not going to work for you, right? But if you're like, hey, I can float some cash and do a side hustle to make some extra money, and I'm okay if I don't have that extra money for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then you can, by the way, once you get the business going, it picks up, right? And then you have this constant cash flow, but it takes some time, right? It's like TCG Player will not pay you for a card that you sell today until like 2 to 3 weeks from today. They just won't. So anyways, it takes time. Be careful out there, and just understand risk. Hey, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and please subscribe. We are trying to get to 150 subscribers, and then we're going to do some cool, exciting things I'll talk more about as we get closer to there. We hit 100 subscribers. Woo, baby. Yep. So feeling good. But anyways, thanks for watching. Well, have a great day.